Hi there, welcome back to the Marathon. My name's Mare, and this week we're going to be discussing mental health. I'm going to be sharing with you my journey with mental health and anxiety, and we're also going to be chatting with Kenna. She's going to teach us all about being mindful and how to meditate, even how to meditate at your desk at work. And also, I wanted to share with you one of the techniques that's really helped me with my mental health and helped me make some pretty big life-changing decisions in my life, and that's how to journal. That's all coming up on this week's episode of The Marathon. Welcome back to my house. Yes, we are filming here in my house. I'm so happy to be sharing this series with you on Shaw TV. I want to thank the good folks at Shaw for helping me put together this show. This week, this topic, very important to me, very near and dear to my heart, and I'm sure it is to many of you, and that is mental health. Now, mental health has a wide gamut of topics and subjects and side effects, that sort of thing. I am not an expert. I am not pretending to be an expert. I'm not a doctor, but I am someone who has suffered and continues to suffer with anxiety. I've had bouts of depression and also post-traumatic stress disorder. So I really wanted to share this with you today because the more I find I talk about it and I share my story, not only do I feel better because it's not bottled up and I'm not holding on to it and suffering in silence, but I'm learning that there are so many people in our area who deal with mental health and different side effects and different avenues of the mental health umbrella. But I don't think anyone is able to escape it, especially in this day and age. I asked my doctor, I said, it feels like more people have anxiety or have depression. He said, no, more people are just talking about it. And that makes me so happy to hear that people are becoming more brave and comfortable and seeking out help and finding someone who will listen. And if that's the only takeaway from this whole episode of the Marathon, please know that no matter what you are going through, someone will listen, someone does care, and it is so important for you to share how you're feeling, whether you talk to your doctor, a therapist, a counselor, a friend, a family member, just someone in your life. If you have tried to find someone to talk to and you haven't, please keep trying. There are so many people who want to help you. And to be quite honest, as someone who at this time last year was in a really dark place, you can overcome, you can move forward. There are treatments, there are tips and tricks and methods. So a little bit of my backstory. My husband and I have a 5-year-old son, Thomas, and he was born with a severe hearing loss. He's had to have surgery. He has a cochlear implant now, and he is also on the autism spectrum. So we've been through quite a tough time as a family, transitioning and learning and, dealing with many setbacks and a dual diagnosis of our beautiful, loving son who we just... I'm obviously, partial to him and a little biased, but he's pretty incredible. So, that's been really difficult to deal with. And my husband, Jeremy, as you will learn in this episode, he himself has suffered with anxiety and depression. And it's been a really rough go. For me, I was that mom, that wife, that I'm sure many of you watching are or know or have been or maybe are right now watching this, who just felt like she had to keep it together to, keep the family going, keep the house going. There was too many responsibilities. I had a full-time job. I had a husband who was suffering, a son who, needs a lot of care and attention. And I was the last on the priority list. I wasn't taking care of myself, and I slipped into quite a depression, crippling anxiety. I used to do a morning show on the radio. I would have panic attacks while I was reading the news. I would have panic attacks in the middle of a break. My co-host would have to continue on without me because I'd have to leave the studio in the middle of a panic attack. Got to a really bad place, but I just felt like I couldn't stop. I couldn't take care of myself because my family needed me, and my husband needed me, and my job needed me. And then I realized that nobody could need me because I was of no service to anyone in the state that I was in. So I saw my doctor and started seeing a therapist, and through a lot of hard work, I'm in such a better place now. And it's still a struggle, I'll still wake up some mornings and feel a little anxious, but now that I have the tools and the tips that I actually put into place and use, it is manageable. And I really wanted to talk about mental health today in this episode. So I want to introduce you to Kenna Riplinger. She's a yoga coach, and she is going to teach us all about meditation and being mindful, something that I think is so important. Since we're talking all about mental health today, I wanted to bring in Kenna. So welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Just hanging out in my living room, as you can see, just relaxing on my couch. And I wanted to set up this very relaxed and welcoming vibe for this part of the show because we're going to be talking about meditation. Now, don't get a little bit nervous about it. I was told that I would benefit from meditation a couple of years ago, and I really had a strong negative reaction, thinking I don't have the time, or I don't know. Do you sort of feel like meditation has maybe a negative connotation, or only one person can do it?
Totally. I think for myself personally, before I practiced meditation, before I did my training as a yoga teacher, I was definitely one of those people where I was like, I'm not the type of person to meditate. I can't sit still. I don't have the time. Mm-hmm. That's just not for me. So hearing that I was going to have to take up a regular meditation practice as part of my training was like, oh no, what am I going to do? But it ended up being probably the most valuable thing that I took away from that whole experience.
So Kenna is a yoga instructor, and you've obviously been educated in meditation. So for someone who is watching and is like, I don't really know about this, can you explain it?
Yeah, for sure. So I think there are a lot of kind of misconceptions floating around about meditation as a practice. A lot of people have a visual in their head of a Buddha holding a string of beads like this one, called a mala, sitting in, full lotus pose, which is totally inaccessible for a lot of people, and, just sitting there for hours and hours and hours on end.
In silence, in total silence.
Total silence,
yeah.
He doesn't breathe. He doesn't blink, he's superhuman. And that's really, it couldn't be further from the truth. And I think a lot of people are intimidated by that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Totally. And I hear that from so many people who are told by practitioners or care providers that you could benefit from meditation or from mindfulness. Mm-hmm. And they just have no idea where to start. So what we're going to kind of talk about today, or what I kind of wanted to share with you, are ways that people can incorporate mindfulness and meditative activities into their lives so that they're accessible and so that they're more likely to do them.
Cool.
Yeah.
So for me, it was recommended that I start meditating when I really started struggling with anxiety. I was just stressed all the time. I had this nervous feeling constantly, and our family was going through quite a lot, which I have talked about a bit on this show. And if you are familiar with my story, both my husband and I have suffered from anxiety, and we have a son with special needs. So we've been through quite a bit. And it was recommended to me, you should meditate. And I thought, again, I don't have time for that. Mm-hmm. But then when I really understood the benefits, which I was hoping you could explain, it makes sense. So how would someone benefit from meditating, even just a really short practice?
Okay. So what I like to kind of equate it to for people is that meditation is a tool just like any other tool that you might have in your household toolbox.
Okay.
And it can be as useful as you make it, or it could kind of sit around and not really be super useful at all. So it totally is up to you to make it something that's going to work for you. And that just takes a little bit of exploration, kind of finding the practice that's going to be of the most benefit.
Right.
So it might look different for different people. If you're finding that, like you say, you're having a lot of anxiety, you could definitely benefit from something like a breathing exercise, or visualization,
Right.
or maybe something like a guided meditation. And what that's going to do is really just help kind of calm the mind and create some more space in between the thoughts. Because a lot of those feelings of nervousness, anxiety, fear, and just feeling overwhelmed tend to stem from when we have a lot going on, like you say, just feeling like you're so overwhelmed with what's going on in your life, that it's really hard to kind of focus on any one thing in particular.
You're just kind of going from one thing to another, and then nothing gets your best intention or attention.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most interesting things about the human brain, is that it's so evolved that we can think about so many different things all at once, but sometimes it tends to go in a little bit of an extreme direction, and we're thinking about so many things at once that we're not really focusing on anything.
So for me personally, I benefit from a guided meditation. I do not do well in the silent, like my brain. I need something to focus on. I need something to always come back to. And I like to, if I can, like light a candle. So I have something to focus on visually as well. But I need words. Like I can't just be in silence. And for me, I meditate. I try and do literally, I can maybe do 10 minutes. If I can do 10 minutes, that's a great day. But even if I just do 5, for me, I find the rest of my day, I'm calmer, I'm more focused, and I feel like it really, I can keep my anxiety in check. Or I can feel it coming on and I can breathe through it. It doesn't get as amped as quickly as it may have. So to me, it's so incredible that 5 minutes in the morning, because I like to do it right first thing before I even check my phone, it really carries me through the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And it really just kind of sets the tone for your day. And again, it's not going to be something that's going to be necessarily an instantaneous fix.
No.
Yeah. But what you'll find maybe over time is that, say, that anxiety that would maybe overwhelm you for a whole day or a whole week, or really kind of rule your life, might be just kind of scaled back a little bit, where maybe you recognize that you have to take, another 5 minutes, kind of remove yourself from the situation that's making you feel that way. But again, it's not something that's totally ruling your day-to-day activities. Yeah, and so it's something to be able to have that awareness is so powerful. And it's so awesome for people to be able to have, that ability to help themselves.
Right.
Yeah. So like you were saying, for you, it works to have a guided meditation and having someone guiding you kind of through that practice. And that's really great, because just even listening to someone that has a really calming, soothing tone to the voice.
Do. And don't you have a guided meditation online?
I do.
Right?
I do have a free one up on the website that people can come listen to at any time. So that's there. And that's great. But a lot of people are kind of like, well, I don't know where to find a guided meditation. Right. I don't know if I want to listen to someone talk about,
their feelings
and
the universe, which I like.
But. which is great, because it speaks to you. But then a lot of people are like, that's a little too kind of frou-frou for me. I'm not really into that.
So is there something you could maybe show us today that would be so something quick, that maybe an introduction to meditation, if you will?
Yep, totally.
Okay.
So we're going to go over one of my favorite meditation techniques to teach to new students, advanced practitioners, just everyone across the board.
Okay.
This is a fan favorite that I
Ooh.
like to call
Awesome.
it. And it's definitely something, like you say, you could do it anytime, anywhere. You could do this before you go to bed at night. Might be nice to just kind of prop yourself up against some pillows so that you're not tempted to fall asleep.
Right.
That's one thing I also get a lot is like, oh man, I'm so tired. Like I just fall asleep if I sit still.
Right.
So that's a good one. You could do this sitting at your desk. If you have
That's a good idea.
30 seconds, you could do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so I call this one the fingertip breath.
Okay.
Okay, and it's super simple. So you're just going to start with your palms face up on your lap.
Okay.
Okay, and you're going to gently curl your palms in towards, or curl your fingers in towards your palms.
Okay.
Okay, and just make a loose fist there. You can close the eyes and just kind of become aware of the feeling of the fingertips meeting the skin of your palms there. And from here, we'll inhale, open and extend the fingers out, reaching out through the fingers. And on your exhale, you're going to bring the pointer finger and the thumb to meet. Our next inhale, we'll open and extend, reach through the fingers. And exhale, this time bring the middle finger and the thumb to meet. Inhale, open the hands. Exhale, ring finger and thumb meet. Inhale, open the hands. Exhale, pinky to thumb. So you might just choose to do a few rounds of that, just moving through the fingers, one by one.
I can't believe how relaxing just that is.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that would be a great thing even just to do in the car, like say before an interview, or like if you're going into a stressful situation. You could even just excuse yourself at work, like you were saying, and do that. Like no one would have to know.
No one would know, and it's something like I've totally done this in the middle of like big exams and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
I will totally just sit there and open and close my hands. And just being, again, mindful of lengthening out. That exhale really stimulates that kind of calming effect throughout the body. So even if you are super overwhelmed, super stressed out, there's little things that are super subtle that, again, you don't have to worry about someone seeing or, you know, thinking you're weird. No, because, I mean, like, I understand why someone would be self-conscious at first about, like, carrying their mala around and bringing it out. Like, I've been known to do that, but
Whatever.
I'm a yoga teacher. Like no one thinks anything of it at this point. So yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as you need it to be.
Let me know if you meditate or if you try meditating. I find it really helpful. And like Kenna said, you can do it anywhere at any time for any length of time. It's just the act of being mindful and present and really breathing and paying attention to what you need. Now, as I talked about earlier, to me, journaling was a huge help in just figuring out some aspects of my life that I really wasn't happy with and getting to the root of my anxiety and getting myself out of that state. So I wanted to share with you my tips for journaling. In 2016, I filled up 3.5 notebooks journaling. And what I found when I was going through such a tough time, and I still, have bouts of it, when your mind is just frantic and you can't focus on one thing at a time, and I just was going from thought to thought to thought, I just needed a way to write everything down and be able to, see patterns or see sort of where I was coming from and how I was going to get out of it. So this was a way for me to really write down those thoughts and quiet that frantic mind for me. Now, I know a lot of people say they hate to write and they don't know what to write and they don't know how to do it, and that's fine. I'm gonna explain to you in this segment how I journal. This is what I do. I open the page, write today's date, and then I just brain dump. I just write whatever's in my mind, whether it's a list, whether it's not even sentences like grammar, capitals, punctuation, none of that matters. Just go, go, go. Just get out whatever is in your mind onto paper. And what I found was probably the first entire book was just like frantic, panic, upset, anger, and then as I continued to write, I saw different patterns or concerns like that kept coming up and kept coming up. And I realized like, okay, these are the standout things that are bothering me. Now I need to face each one individually and see how I can attack it and see what's really wrong here. Because there was definitely a point where I was placing the blame on other things and not focusing on what the actual problem was. And so by journaling, there's no one else to tell you what to do. There's no one else listening, and you can be totally brutally honest. And that is one thing, I think that's the only way that journaling works, is if you are confident that no one will ever read it. In my opinion, if you're writing thinking that like, oh, my husband might find this, or like, what if my kids find this? It's not worth the exercise because you're not being truthful. You need to either trust that your family or your friends or whomever respects you enough to not look in your journal, or put it in a place that they'll never find it. Because for me, like I wrote down some incredibly difficult things knowing that no one would ever read it, you know? And then I got to a point where I could put those things aside or deal with them and then continue to write. So that's all I do, is I just brain dump. Now there's also two things you can do. One, never read it again. Or two, go back and read it and see if you can see a theme or see if you can see a cycle. And what's also great is like, I look forward to reading, say like my January entries next January. And I think it'll be really cool to see how far I've come. It's just like a nice way to note your progress, I guess. Another thing that my therapist has suggested to me that I have done is to write letters in my journal that I would never send to people, no, but like closure. So if you feel like you need to talk to someone about something and you can't, or you like would never be given the opportunity to, write them a letter and maybe that'll give you some closure. For me, it worked both ways. Like in some points I liked it, and then in other points it just brought up feelings that I really just wanted to sort of put to bed. But yeah, so those are a few things, like brain dump, write letters, write lists, and also just write and write and write and write. Don't care like what your printing looks like, your handwriting. I don't think I have one here with me, but I found that the pen really made a difference. Like I liked one that was super smooth with no texture or anything where I was holding my fingers, because that's how much I was writing. This helped me a lot as well. You totally don't need one of these, absolutely not necessary, but I've loved this. It's one of these like lap pillow board things. I got this at Chapters on Boxing Day. You can get them anywhere. I just always really wanted one, and I find that it does help to, you know, journal when I'm journaling on my lap. And then get a book that you like. Like I really liked this one, and then I love that I was able to find it. I think I have like 2 more that I haven't even started yet. I liked having the same ones. I thought that was really cool. My girlfriend Alicia got me this one as like a goodbye present when I left the station. It says Gold Digger. How perfect is that for me? The size, the spine, the lines, no lines, just get one that inspires you and that you're gonna wanna write in. Like I am very particular when it comes to journals and notebooks, so like I know what I like, and that really helps me. So really it's just a matter of doing it, and then also doing it often. And it doesn't have to be negative. Like you don't have to wait till you're going through a terrible time. You could choose every single day to write a full page about what went well or what you're grateful for. Journaling just helped me so much, gave me so much clarity. And also I like journaling because it's not, I don't want to say impeded, but it's not affected by anyone else's opinion. Like, I love to sit with a girlfriend and chit chat, or sit with Jeremy and go through stuff and like try and get them to help or work stuff out. But at some point, it is nice to just have your own opinion about stuff and to make decisions solely based on what you want. And that was something I really had to learn, was not letting anyone else influence my decisions and deciding solely for what was going to be best for me. Plus, I mean, I hate being that person who's constantly complaining about the same thing. At some point, your friends and family are going to be like, enough, do not, just something, you know? So the journal never judges you. So I hope those tips and tricks on journaling help you. Let me know if you journal. And if you don't, if you start, let me know what you think. I've had a lot of people message me since I've talked about journaling and say that they've tried it and that they've found it very beneficial. Now, I want to introduce you to my husband, Jeremy. He is someone who is very vocal about his bouts with anxiety and depression. He's actually a board member of the Canadian Mental Health Association's South Okanagan-Similkameen board, and he wants to share his story and why he thinks it's so important to talk about it.
Bell Let's Talk Day means a lot to me, as it promotes the importance of talking about our mental health. 2 years ago, it's what made me finally realize that I needed to get help. I was actually working at a Bell radio station and therefore, was given a lot of information to get familiar with so that I could talk about it on the air. And it was kind of like I was reading a description of myself. Plus, I was going through a period in my life where everything was just coming unraveled. And that's when I kind of realized that I wasn't just, stressed out. And I finally decided to tell my doctor about it, tell him about all this anxiety, depression, and even that I was suicidal. Now, I didn't want to die, but my brain was telling me, this is a solid option for what you're going through. I got a medication, started seeing a therapist, a mental health counselor, and I also started to do yoga because that really also helped calm my mind down. Plus, you know what? I decided I'm not going to hide this from people. I'm going to tell them what's up. I was honest. And you know what? Talking was really beneficial. I couldn't believe how many other people in my life were dealing with something similar, yet I had no idea. And you know what? It was not a quick fix. By no means. It was probably 8 months before I started to feel like Jeremy again. 1 in 5 Canadians are going to deal with a mental illness at some point in their life. And then on top of that, 66% of those are going to suffer in silence. Now that absolutely has to change. This just has to. Someone's going to listen to you. That's the thing. Tell someone how you're feeling. Even if it's just your doctor, you're going to be surprised to learn that other people you know are dealing with something similar and that, they want to help you. A couple of years ago for Bell Let's Talk Day, Howie Mandel used a great analogy that has stuck with me. Quote, if we take care of our mental health like we take care of our dental health, we'll be okay. How perfect is that, right? Why is it no problem to tell someone you got to leave work early for a dentist appointment, but you'll get odd looks if you say you've got to go to an appointment with your therapist? It just can't be like that anymore. We need to start talking about our mental health so we can end the stigma surrounding it, so that we take care of our minds as well as we take care of our teeth.
Thanks, Jer, for sharing. I really appreciate it. You're going to be seeing a lot more of Jeremy on the Mareathon. And that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that you found some of this helpful. Please let me know what topics you would like to see covered on the Mareathon here on Shaw TV. And until next week, namaste, I would like to say. It's kind of what I say. Namaste. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.